Om Namah Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayan Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiriye Nashtuprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. So continuing with the discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 1, The Advent of Lord Krishna, Introduction, text 31-32 onwards. So yesterday we studied how Kansa, the son of King Ugrasena, took charge of the reins of the horses and became the chariot driver for his sister Devaki and Vasudeva to take them home after the marriage. Chatushatam paribarham gajanam hema malinam ashwanam yutam sardham rathanam chatri षट्शतं दासीनां सुकुमारीणां द्वेषते समलंकृते दुहित्रे देवकः प्रादा याने दुहित्री वत्सला. Devaki's father, King Devak, was very much affectionate to his daughter. Therefore, while she and her husband were leaving home, he gave her a dowry of 400 elephants, nicely decorated with golden garlands. He also gave 10,000 horses, 1,800 chariots, and 200 very beautiful young maidservants, fully decorated with ornaments. This system of giving dowry to one's daughter has existed in Vedic civilization for a long time. Even today, following the same system, a father who has money will give his daughter an opulent dowry. A daughter would never inherit the property of her father, and therefore an affectionate father during the marriage of his daughter would give her as much as possible. A dowry, therefore, is never illegal according to the Vedic system. Here, of course, the gift offered as a dowry by Devak to Devaki was not ordinary, because Devak was a king and he gave a dowry quite suitable to his royal position. Even an ordinary man, especially a high-class Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya, is supposed to give his daughter a liberal dowry. Immediately after the marriage, the daughter goes to her husband's house, and it is also a custom for the brother of the bride to accompany his sister and brother-in-law to exhibit affection for her. This system was followed by Kansa. These are all old customs in the society of Varnashram Dharma, which is now wrongly designated as Hindu. These long-standing customs are nicely described here. But of course, dowry was voluntarily given by the father, not that the groom is demanding the dowry. So it has become, everything has become perverted reflection of what actually it should have been. And then the government has to put down the laws, and so many things go wrong. Shankh Turya Mridangascha Nedur Dundu Bhaya Samam Prayan Prakrame Tata Varvadvo Sumangalam. O beloved son Maharaj Parikshit, when the bride and bridegroom were ready to start, conch shells, bugles, drums, and kettle drums all vibrated in concert for the auspicious departure. Pati pragrahinam kansam abhashya aha sharirvak asyastvam tvam ashtamo garbo hanta yam vahase buddha. While Kansa, controlling the reins of the horses, was driving the chariot along the way, an unembodied voice addressed him, "You foolish rascal, the eighth child of the women you are carrying will kill you." Eighth child of the woman. So, Ashtamo Garbho. So, not the eighth one, eighth child. The Aman spoke of Ashtamo Garbha, referring to the eighth pregnancy, but did not clearly say whether the child was to be a son or a daughter. Even if Kansa were to see that the eighth child of Devaki was a daughter, he should have no doubt that the eighth child was to kill him. According to the Vishwakosh dictionary, the word Garbha means embryo, and also Arbhak, or child. Kansa was affectionate towards his sister, and therefore he had become the chariot driver to carry her and his brother-in-law to their home. The demigods, however, did not want Kansa to be affectionate towards Devaki, and therefore, from an unseen position, they encouraged Kansa to offend her. Moreover, the 6 sons of Marichi had been cursed to take birth from the womb of Devaki, and upon being killed by Kansa, they would be delivered. So, why the sons of Marichi were cursed? Because that story appeared shortly in Bhagavatam when Brahmaji became enamored after his own daughter when she had taken the form of a female deer. So Brahmaji took the form of a male deer and ran after her. So at that time, Shivji was there, 4 Kumaras were there, these 6 sons of Marichi were there, and other sages were there. So Shivji's position is different. He's on a higher platform than Brahmaji. So he chastised Brahmaji. What are you doing? This is not correct. 4 Kumaras, they were sons of Brahmaji, so they could not chastise Brahmaji, but they started praying to the Lord, please give the right intelligence to Brahmaji. But these 6 sons of Marichi, they started laughing at Brahmaji. So 4 Kumaras did not commit an offense. Shivji obviously did not commit an offense, but these 6 sons of Marichi, they committed an offense. So for that, first they took birth as the sons of Hiranyaksha's sister, and they were killed by Hiranyaksha. And then next birth was sons of Devaki, and they would be killed by Kansa. Of course, they all asked for forgiveness. And that's why they got the fortune of being born from womb of Devaki, where Krishna himself is going to appear later on. And Krishna liberated them also. That story happens later on. So we'll study that when that happens. But these 6 sons of Marichi had been cursed to take birth from the womb of Devaki, and upon being killed by Kansa, they would be delivered. When Devaki understood that Kansa would be killed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who would appear from her womb, she felt great joy. But why? Kansa was her brother. But Kansa was so cruel, he had taken over the kingdom of Maharaj Ugrasen forcibly. And he had friendship with so many demons. He was very, very powerful king. And he had all these Rakshasas like Aghasur, Bakasur. They were very, very powerful. But Kansa would go and challenge them for fight. And the deal was, if whoever loses in the fight, they would become the other guys, the victor's servant. So he alone defeated all these Rakshasas, and they became his servants. How powerful. So Devaki, although Kansa was affectionate to his little sister, but Devaki was happy that from my womb, my 8th pregnancy would kill him. She was happy. The word Vahasa is also significant because it indicates that the ominous vibration condemned Kansa for acting just like a beast of burden by carrying his enemy's mother. Now, a question may be raised that why demigods had to inform Kansa like this? They could have let it go, and a child would have been born on its own course, and he could have killed Kansa. But Kansa was cruel, very, very cruel. And they didn't want Krishna to be obligated to Kansa if Kansa would have been nice to his parents. Then he wouldn't have killed Kansa, and Kansa would have continued with his rule in a demoniac way. So they wanted Kansa to be killed. Of course, Krishna also appears, Paritarana sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam. But he would have been really been grateful if Kamsa, like here, he is serving Devaki and Vasudeva, taking them home. But if he commits offense against them, then definitely Krishna will kill him. So later on also we'll see how Narad Muni encouraged Kansa to kill all these little babies, 6 babies, who were the 6 sons of Marichi. Kansa wanted to pardon them. He didn't want to kill them. But Narad Muni instigated him. But this was the reason. They wanted to, also at the same time, they wanted to hurry up the appearance of Krishna. So these devotees, they work differently. Iti uktah sa khala papo bhojanam kulpansanah bhaginim hantum arabdham khang pani kache grit. Kansa was a condemned personality in the Bhoja dynasty because he was envious and sinful. Therefore, upon hearing this amen from the sky, he caught hold of his sister's hair with his left hand and took up his sword with his right hand to sever her head from her body. See, as soon as he heard that he will be killed by not by Devaki, not by Vasudeva, ate the child of Devaki, immediately forget about the being a chariot driver. He took up he just held the sister's hair with his left hand, and with the right hand he took up his sword to kill her. There is no Devaki, no eighth child. So what's the big deal? Kansa was driving the chariot and controlling the reins with his left hand. But as soon as he heard the amen that his sister's 8th child would kill him, he gave up the reins, caught hold of his sister's hair, and with his right hand took up his sword to kill her. Before, he had been so affectionate that he was acting as his sister's chariot driver. But as soon as he heard that his self-interest or his life was at risk, he forgot all affection for her and immediately became a great enemy. This is the nature of demons. No one should trust a demon despite any amount of affection. Aside from this, a king, a politician, and a woman cannot be trusted since they can do anything abominable for their personal interest. Chanakya Pandit therefore says, Vishwasu neva kartavya strishu rajakuleshu cha. So king, politician, and Kansa is a demon. So no one should trust a demon. So one got to be very, very careful. But obviously, as devotees, we just depend upon Krishna. But here we'll see how Vasudevji, although he's going to be father of Krishna, but how diplomatically he spoke with Kansa. Tam jugupsit karmanam nrishamsam nirpatrapam Vasudevo Mahabhaga uvach parisantvyam. Wanting to pacify Kansa, who was so cruel and envious that he was shamelessly ready to kill his sister, the great soul Vasudeva, who was to be the father of Krishna, spoke to him in the following words. Vasudeva, who was to be the father of Krishna, is described as Mahabhaga, a very upright and sober personality. Because although Kansa was ready to kill Vasudeva's wife, Vasudeva remained sober and unagitated. Because if he had become angry and he knew Kansa is more powerful than me, and Kansa already is caught hold of Devaki's hair, and he has sword in his hand, ready to kill her. So there was no way if he had become angry or agitated, he could have saved Devaki. So he just remained sober and unagitated. In a peaceful attitude, Vasudeva began to address Kansa by putting forward reasonable arguments. Vasudeva was a great personality because he knew how to pacify a cruel person and how to forgive even the bitterest enemy. One who is fortunate is never caught, even by tigers or snakes. So Vasudevji is in a very demanding situation right now, and he had to pacify Kansa. Shri Vasudeva Shlagniya Guna Shurura Bhavan Yashaskara Sakatham Bhaganim Hanya Istriyam Udvaha Parvani. Vasudeva said, my dear brother-in-law Kamsa, you're the pride of your family, the Bhoja dynasty, and great heroes praise your qualities. How could such a qualified person as you kill a woman, your own sister, especially on the occasion of her marriage? According to Vedic principles, a Brahman, an old man, a woman, a child, or a cow cannot be killed under any circumstances. Vasudeva stressed that Devaki was not only a woman, but a member of Kamsa's family. Because she was now married to Vasudeva, she was Parastri, another man's wife, and if such a woman were killed, not only would Kamsa be implicated in sinful activities, but his reputation as king of the Bhoja dynasty would be damaged. Thus, Vasudeva tried in many ways to convince Kamsa in order to stop him from killing Devaki. So he's saying, oh, you are a great hero and great heroes praise your qualities. So how can, and you're coming in Bhoja dynasty, how can you kill a woman? So first thing is to praise the demon. Mrityur janma vatam vira dehena sahajayate adya vabd shatanteva mrityurve praninam dhruva. O great hero, one who takes birth is sure to die, for death is born with the body. One may die today or after hundreds of years, but death is sure for every living entity. Now, this is Krishna also says in Bhagavad Gita. But what is got to do over here? So basically, next shloka I will say, you're sure to die. You cannot avoid death, but you can avoid the infamy that this act is going to bring to such a great hero like you. Vasudeva wanted to impress upon Kamsa that although Kamsa feared dying and therefore wanted to kill even a woman, he could not avoid death. Death is sure. Why then should Kamsa do something that would be detrimental to his reputation and that of his family? Because Kshatriyas live for reputation also. As confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, Jatasi Dhruva Mrityur. For one who has taken his birth, death is certain, and for one who is dead, birth is certain. Therefore, in the unavoidable discharge of your duty, you should not lament. Krishna told Arjuna. One should not fear death. Rather, one should prepare oneself for the next birth. One should utilize one's time in this human form to end the process of birth and death. It is not that to save oneself from death, one should entangle oneself in sinful activities. This is not good. So no one can survive death. Nobody. Just like somebody said once to Prabhupada, oh, Prabhupada, in India, the death rate is very high. Prabhupada said, death rate is same everywhere. It's 100%. Even in America, everybody is going to die. So that is for sure. It might be a little longer life in some places, lesser life and lesser duration of life in some, but everybody is going to die nevertheless. So just to live long, one should not engage or entangle oneself in sinful activities. Dehe panchatvam apanne dehi karmanugo avashaha dehantaram anuprapya praktanam tyajate vapuhu. When the present body turns to dust and is again reduced to 5 elements, earth, water, fire, air, and ether, the proprietor of the body, the living being, automatically receives another body of material elements according to his fruitive activities. When the next body is obtained, he gives up the present body. So this is how the change of bodies take place. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, which presents the beginning of spiritual understanding. Dehinu asminyatha dehe. As the embodied soul continually passes in this body from boyhood to youth to old age, the soul similarly passes into another body at death. The self-realized soul is not bewildered by such a change. A person or an animal is not the material body. Rather, the material body is covering of the living. Bhagavad Gita compares the body to a dress and elaborately explains how one changes dresses one after another. The same Vedic knowledge is confirmed here. The living being, the soul, is constantly changing bodies one after another. Even in the present life, the body changes from childhood to boyhood, from boyhood to youth, and from youth to old age. Similarly, when the body is too old to continue, the living being gives up this body and by the laws of nature automatically gets another body according to his fruitive activities, desires, and ambitions. The laws of nature control this sequence, and therefore, as long as the living entity is under the control of the external material energy, the process of body change takes place automatically according to one's fruitive activities. So automatically means still under the control of the higher beings and according to one's fruitive activities, but the change, it happens so swiftly we can't even realize. Vasudeva therefore wanted to impress upon Kamsa that if he committed this sinful act of killing a woman, in his next life he would certainly get a material body still more conditioned to the sufferings of the material existence. Thus Vasudeva advised Kamsa not to commit sinful activities, because he said, you're going to commit sinful activity of killing a helpless woman who happens to be a sister on the day of her marriage. This is big time sinful activity. So don't do it. But Kamsa was still ready to kill her, to protect her. One who commits sinful activities because of ignorance, tamogun, obtains a lower body. Karanam guna sangovasya. There are hundreds and thousands of different species of life. Why are there higher and lower bodies? One receives these bodies according to the contaminations of material nature. If in this life one is contaminated by the mode of ignorance and sinful activities, dushkriti, in the next life, by the laws of nature, one will certainly get a body full of suffering. The laws of nature are not subservient to the whimsical desires of the conditioned soul. Our endeavor, therefore, should be to associate always with Sattvagun and not indulge in Rajagun or Tamagun. Lusty desires and greed keep the living entity perpetually in ignorance and prevent him from being elevated to the platform of Sattvagun or Shuddha Sattvagun. One is advised to be situated in Shuddha Sattvagun, devotion service, for thus one is immune to the reactions of the three modes of material nature. So that is why, the scriptures are there to guide us, but our mind, because it is so many desires, three modes of nature, association that we keep, it always wants to go down because we think there are more, it's more fun, more enjoyable to be in the lower modes. To keep oneself always in Sattvagun or even beyond, one is advised to be situated in Shuddha Sattvagun, devotion, service. It takes lots and lots of efforts because our conditioning is like that. So our activities, association, food, our hearing, everything that we feed to our senses should be in Shuddha Sattvagun. Then there is a chance that we would be in Sattvagun always. But still, because our conditioning is such, it's difficult. So it's a big struggle, big struggle. But this struggle, which is called tapasya, this is basically tapasya. To always remain in Sattvagun, or most of the time remain in Sattvagun. This is what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. In Sattvagun, in the beginning, the austerities, they are like poison, but in the end result is nectar. In Rajagun, whatever we do in the beginning, it tastes like nectar, but at the end is very, very bad, bitter or poisonous. And Tamagun and beginning, everything is poisonous. There's nothing nectarian. But those who are in Rajagun or Tamagun, they always think that they are enjoying. So from the scriptural point of view, we have to see properly. Vrajastishtan padakena yathavekena gachati yatha trina jalokevam dehi karma gatim gataha. Just as a person traveling on the road rests one foot on the ground and then lifts the other, or as a worm on a vegetable transfer itself to one leaf, then gives up the previous one. The conditioned soul takes shelter of another body and then gives up the one he had before. This is the process of soul's transmigration from one body to another. At the time of death, according to his mental condition, the living being is carried by the subtle body, consisting of mind, intelligence, and ego, to another gross body. When higher authorities have decided what kind of gross body the living entity will have, he is forced to enter such a body, and thus he automatically gives up his previous body. Dull-minded persons who do not have the intelligence to understand this process of transmigration take for granted that when the gross body is finished, one's life is finished forever. This is what the modern day scientists or so many philosophers think this way. Such persons have no brains with which to understand the process of transmigration. At the present moment, there is a great opposition to the Hare Krishna movement, which is being called a brainwashing movement. But actually, the so-called scientists, philosophers, and other leaders in the Western countries have no brains at all. The Hare Krishna movement is trying to elevate such foolish persons by enlightening their intelligence so that they will take advantage of the human body. Unfortunately, because of gross ignorance, they regard the Hare Krishna movement as a brainwashing movement. They do not know that without God consciousness, one is forced to continue transmigrating from one body to another. Because of their devilish brains, they will next be forced to accept an abominable life and practically never be able to liberate themselves from the conditional life of material existence. How this transmigration of the soul takes place is very clearly explained in the next verse, in this verse. And how it happens, as proper in the verse, a worm on a vegetable transfers itself. So this worm, basically it's a long worm, and it has maybe hundreds of legs, centipede it is called. So when it transfers from one leaf to another, so first it puts his legs on the second leaf, and when he's stable there, he lets the first leaf go. Means, so what does it mean in our case, so transmigration? So transmigration of the soul, so as Prabhupada explained, the subtle body remains with the soul. The subtle body consisting of mind, intelligence, and false ego. So even in this present body, we start developing the subtle body for the next body, depending upon kind of activities we do, desires we have, association we keep, the karma. I mean, this all decides our next body, but it starts happening now. So if we are continuing very nicely, sincerely with our devotional service, then our mind, intelligence, ego, it starts getting spiritualized because we are putting in that spiritual effort. So if we are completely purified, then we can get spiritual body, or our spiritual body gets so developed that we don't need any more material body. If we are not completely purified, suppose we are purified maybe whatever, 10% or 20%. So we will get the next body, gross body, according to our consciousness at the time of death, but the consciousness is not fully spiritual. But whatever spiritual progress we have made, that remains with us forever. That doesn't go away. So in the next body, then we take up this process of devotion service from wherever we have left now. Now, when we will take up, at the age of 2, 5, 10, 20, it depends upon our desires. So we got to be very, very careful and very, very diligent in our devotion service. Do it more and more and more and more. That's all. So chanting and reading and whatever time we can spend, more than what we should be, that is always recommended. And less time in the worldly things. So this is the only thing that's going to help. Okay, so we'll stop here. See anybody has any questions or comments.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
I have one doubt. So we were reading
Okay.
that the demigods were not happy that Kansa is getting into, is going to get some mercy from Krishna, because if he will show some mercy towards his sister, then Krishna might be pleased. Or, sorry, the 6 children of Devaki. So he was killing them, and sometime he was trying to, show some mercy on them and not kill them. But the demigods induced him to do that, you said, na?
That time Narad Muni did that. But right now demigods did this voice from the sky.
Okay. Voices from the sky. Narad Muni induced. So why did Narad Muni think like this, that if he will become compassionate and he will get the mercy of Krishna, then he might also become a devotee someday?
See, again, Krishna's pastimes work in a different way. First of all, these 6 sons of Marichi, they had to be delivered.
Okay.
And the curse was they would be killed by your mama, or mother's brother.
Okay.
And then Kansa obviously got liberated because he got killed by Krishna. But not in a devotional way. So he got Sarupya Mukti. And also Narad Muni wanted to speed up the appearance of Krishna.
Okay. Okay. So this is some pastime in the picture.
And also Vasudevji will read how he tried to speed up appearance of Krishna. There's so many things go on here.
Yeah. You have to understand from different contexts.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, as you mentioned about Sattva stage and Shuddha Sattva stage, both are like Shuddha Sattva stage is different than the Sattva stage, or both are same?
No, Sattvagun is material. Shuddha Sattva is beyond material. That is spiritual.
Okay, so only in the stage when someone reaches to the stage of Shuddha Sattva, then only all the baggage of karma which we are carrying past many, many lifetimes, after coming to this stage only can it be mitigated? Or
Yep.
okay, so just
see,
by
Sattvagun is like explained like a chain of gold. Rajagun like a chain of silver. Tamagun like a chain of iron. So they're still binding us to the material world. Whether it's a chain of gold, but it is still a chain. But also Prabhupada explained one place that the aeroplane of devotional service or aeroplane of transcendence, it takes off from the airport of Sattvagun.
Yes, Prabhuji.
So by devotion service, we'll automatically come to Sattvagun level, but we have to go beyond.
Like Sattva, Sattva Guna is the conducive environment to practice devotion, but
Yeah.
but the transcending part will come when we'll constantly engage into the devotional service. Then it will gradually happen that it will become like from selfish to selfless stage. Then the Suddha Sattva stage will follow.
Yeah. So we just carry on, continue with our devotion service, and slowly.
So whatever the prophecies, like suppose it's written according to our past life karmas and all, so that everything can be exhausted just coming to this stage. That's what you are saying, right, Prabhuji?
What is written?
Like
The destiny, you mean?
Destiny, yes, Prabhuji.
Oh yeah. It says, Brahma Samhita says, na karmani nirdhati kintu cha bhakti bhaja. By bhakti, all the karmas can be burnt to ashes. All means positive, negative, everything.
Yes, understood, Prabhuji. Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, thank you. Hare Krishna. So thank you all very much. You all have a safe and wonderful day. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Prabhupada.